Bonjour everybody, how we doing? Marie's first in the chat, congratulations to you. You first. Sylvian is here as well, Elken is here, Milo, Crash Mat Warrior as well. You're loving that thumbnail. I don't know if anybody knows, there's a guy called Tim the Tap Man, and he makes his editors anyway make really good thumbnails. So I thought, wow, I'm gonna mess around and make a funny thumbnail for a change. What's up, y'all? I've been fixing everything. The stream was just not working. Should have been on a little while ago, but it's all good. So Jesse, I look like Bob for sure. Crash My Warrior says, bad day today, bad day at work, but I had a bath and dinner, so I feel better. How's you, Milo? Happy little accidents for sure. See, like, I feel like it's gone a little bit to the right, maybe? It's a little bit better. Okay, let's spin this around. Awesome. I have one idea for a particular design today, and that's it really. It was one standard one. I recorded another long tutorial. I'm still umming and ahhing where it's going to go. Could be YouTube next week, could be Patreon next month, I'm not sure. It's a belter, it's arguably the best design I've ever done, in my opinion. But yeah, it was 2 hours long of recording. I've yet to touch the editing, so I would imagine we're looking at about an hour and 45 maybe. This isn't a trend I'm going to keep up. You know, I'm not going to be doing that sort of durations all the time, but I'm in that sort of space at the minute where I'm happy to do it, which is cool. I think it's worth just adding them to the catalogue, you know. So I don't know if that tutorial is going to go live on YouTube next week, or Patreon next month, just to break it up. We'll see how it goes. I would like to put it on YouTube because I'd like to experiment with seeing if it will do well or not. My concern is if it doesn't do well, you know, it's just sat on the channel and it could be, you know, really worthwhile to someone who's a patron instead, sort of thing. So, yeah, just umming and ahhing about what to do with it. Like I said, probably my best design I've made yet. In terms of my favourite design, the detail, etc. So, yeah, we'll go with that. Charlie, what are you doing? You watch out for the lights. What are you doing? Me? People can't see you. Hang on. Come here. Come on, go ahead. There you go, people can see you now. Uh-oh. Here comes Daisy too. Oh, lights are gonna... Daisy. Oh, Daisy, here. Daisy, up. Good girl. Okay, that's enough. Okay, you gotta get out now because you're gonna knock everything over. Out. Go on, out. Go on, out. All done. Right, back to where we were. So yeah, got a belt of a tutorial coming. I am excited for it for sure. Crash Mat Warrior says, Joel, you're becoming my only hobby with these long tutorials. I'm sorry, I'm taking up all your time. I'm sorry, but I hope you're enjoying them. Charlie, out, sweet, out. Yeah, these longer tutorials are taking up a lot of time, and you got the live streams as well. Oh, it's just non-stop entertainment. I'm like my own sort of channel here. I am. Where was I? Crash My Warrior says, oh, I've an idea. Could you do a short on it and see how interest goes on YouTube? Yeah, for sure. So I don't tend to do like, I know what you're saying, and I'd kind of justify why I maybe wouldn't, but it's a good idea to actually probably experiment, is sneak peeks are obviously exclusive to patrons, so I try to keep that as much as possible. The only time I'll make an exception to showing something prior to it coming out on like Patreon or YouTube is I'll kind of like not leak it, but like tease it probably the night before, because I release my tutorial first thing in the morning the following day. It's only really up for like 10 to 12 hours sort of thing maximum, so patrons get a hell of a lot of time to see it ahead of time, and early access of course. So but yeah, I could pop it up as a short. So this is what I used to do back in the day. I would like pop up a video on Instagram whenever and then be like, yeah, the tutorial's coming in a week or something like that. It would drive me nuts because all I get asked all the time is, where is this? And now I'm like, when I publish it, it's available. When I post something about it on Instagram, it's available straight away. You can just spare me the comments and just carry on and go get it done. But yeah, it might be worth just a little teaser, a little sneak peek. I don't know how I would gauge the results, but it's a good idea. But yeah, I don't know if it's going up. If I'm going to make the decision tonight, tomorrow, if it's going up on YouTube, it will be shown to patrons tomorrow, so you've got some time to see it. And also, if you are a patron, this month is like every other week you're going to get a tutorial, so we're not having one next Tuesday, be the following, and then again break, and then another one at the end. Charlie, out, sweetie, out. I have to put this here to guard you from coming in. Oh, there we go. Yes, every other week. I think it's a good thing as well. We spoke about this a couple of weeks ago, and I will get to some drawing in a second, is that sometimes you guys need a break in between, so it's not just like tutorial, having a break, especially with a 2-hour one that needs to be done. It's good to have a week off, and then the content will still continue to come out. I already have a design that I mocked up prior to today's stream. I was working on the sofa just a second ago. So what I typically do is every time I make a design and I'm going to sort of draw it again, is I'll take screenshots of everything and the layers and stuff, and then pop it on my computer, and then I can use it as a reference. Okay, so let's do it. Oh, my back. Who's adorable? I'm adorable. Oh, you mean the dogs? Fine. The dogs can have it. Okay, so this is going to be some water down here. As for the size, that should just about do. And the background colour will change. Does anybody else's background colour do this? Like, that's what the palette should look like, but occasionally I'll tap on it and there it goes. It goes all weird. Some sort of problem there. Wait, I just realised my chat is see-through. What do you mean? Oh, I've got ambient mode on. Is that new thing that YouTube released? This colour here. That's the one. And we're going to get started with some inking. I love this syrup brush at the minute. One of my favourites. What's up, Alexis? I love pastel colour. I prefer that. Fair dues, fair dues. Jesse, that's all I do. That's all I do is draw all day, every day. And Crash Mario says, "Oh, I must have gel. It used to be black." Yeah, it must be that new ambient mode that they released. Okay, so we're just gonna draw in some banking. Let that run into the ground a second, and then we're gonna just draw the rest. So this one is another tutorial that's probably gonna come soon. Oh, I'll put it on the same there. Silly me. Yeah, this syrup brush is the one. It just allows you to create like little bumps and lumps and details without using the monoline brush, which is super, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Very purposeful, very, you know, it's very round and smooth. It's, you know, you want it sometimes to be a little bit sort of jumpy, bumpy. How's everybody's week been then? What's everybody up to? Anybody doing anything cool? Yeah, okay. I think we'll draw in the main structure of everything first, and then I can start to paint in all the different details. And I keep sort of going off about sort of painting and stuff lately. It's a little thing that I'm a bit obsessed with at the minute. So you will see a few of these, and a good use of the brush that we used in the cabin tutorial. Devin is in Vegas. Are you having a good time? How was it? I haven't seen you in the chat for a while, have we not? That's the thing with Procreate. It's definitely something that, like, I see the difference already in the numbers. Like, it's something people pick up again in the winter, like, for sure. Well, depends on obviously what side of the globe you're on, I guess. Devin says it's been a blast. I know I kind of fell off from drawing. No, dude, it's all good. It's all good. People come and go. People come and go all the time. Good thing is, it's always there for you when you need it. In the probably the winter, like I said, is the more popular time. It's always there to be picked back up. And the good thing is like, obviously all the tutors continue to teach, so there's loads of different tutorials that you can catch up on or take your fancy if you want a little refresher. So just drawing in a bit of a tree line, obviously. Trying to get all my basic shapes in there first. Get all that in. I don't necessarily need it to be symmetrical, but we can in terms of the numbers. And we can just go off from there. Maybe just a stray one back here instead. Okay, that's kind of cool for a minute. That's fine. What I also need to do is add a nice wash of colour in the background. So I'm getting really sort of invested in this sort of style a little bit more, and trying to just refine it. I'm just going to brush in some background colour, which is going to end up as a really nice little wash of colour back there. Not too much, not too little, but a good variation on the colours too will help in the background there. Leaving a little bit of a gap towards the top. Maybe dropping some darker tones in there too. A nice wash of colour, and then we'll just gush and blur it into a little bit defined, but a little bit not. How's your week going, Joel? You good? Staying hydrated and getting your vitamins. I don't want to waste away recording all these longer tutorials. I am shattered. I recorded that 2-hour tutorial before this stream, and I was ready to press the button to be like, yeah, folks, I'm sorry, it's not tonight. But I am very tired from drawing, but it's all good. At least I already had a design ready to go. But yeah, definitely a bit tired. What's up, Funky? I'm back. I'm in a conference, but I'll finish in 30 minutes and I'll be back. I'll be back. Okay, so we'll go for something a little bit blurred out, maybe about sort of 10 or 9%, something like that. Let's then also do some background trees as well. So this is just a really easy way of just adding in, you know, background filler. We just want to focus on what we want to draw, not so much all of this in the back. So we can just draw in trees, which will just get blurred out. Trees that don't have to go all the way to the top. They don't all have to come from the bottom either. Just lots of streaks in the background that just help to flush out the scene a little bit more. It doesn't look like much right now, but it really will start to come together. Something I'm trying to constantly repeat myself in tutorials of, like, you know, trust the process. I promise you we'll get there. So some crisscross. Look how quick and easy this is, just being just like very quick and easy flicks of like branches. So again, it's all background content anyway, so it just gets blurred out. Nice little flicks here and there. It kind of makes the process look very easy, stupidly easy, but lots of little flicks in the background. Bulks out the trees a little bit more. We can maybe chop those trees down just a little bit. I don't want to exceed that sort of skyline. Gosh, and blur them out. Before you know it, you've got like a little forest back there. Again, those ones on the right hand side are a little bit too high, so we'll get rid of them too. And this one as well. Gosh, and blur. There we go, got more of a blurred out scene in the background there. Again, trust me, it will come together. Crashmat says, I can only imagine. I started the cabin the other day and had to stop. My hand got cramped. It's my fault, and just kept pausing and taking longer. So like while I was recording it, there was like random breaks that I had to take because like the door rang, the phone was gonna die, lots of little things like that. So it's really frustrating. And I was like, do I just take a break and just come back to this later on? And I was like, no, you can't do that. Like, there's too much to be done here. And if you take a break, like, you know, you're just dragging it out. So yeah, carried on regardless. Okay, so let's now try and flush out these trees a little bit more, creating fun little flicks off of branches. And again, this is something I'm trying to sort of teach at the minute. These don't have to touch. See, there's like a gap there. They don't have to touch, because when you start to add in all the greenery and all the leaves on top, these just sort of are little glimpses through the trees. So you really don't need to like sit there and be very meticulous over your branches. They're just like, if your branches, you know, get a glimpse through, you know, don't go like this, obviously, you know, but just little bits where you don't need to add in a full, you know, branch and everything breaking off of it. It's got to sort of make sense at the same time, but yeah, you don't have to be very super meticulous over it. Just enough that if there's a gap in your greenery at the top and stuff, there's enough that, you know, there's a gap underneath, just to show a little bit of branch, if that makes any sense. Let's draw in some branches here too, just let that veer off. Little flicks off of here and here, creating a bit more of a forest look to it now. Once we start painting in these autumnal colours as well, this will look really pretty. Who's here then in the chat? Let me know who's hanging out with us this evening. If you're new here, please feel free to drop into the chat. I love seeing new faces, and that's what it's all about. I'm here to draw, but also, you know, interact with you guys. So if there's something I say, or you know, just want to hang out and get to know all the other members of the chat that typically are in here every week, you know, get involved with the community. that's a little bit too repetitive. What's up, Bella? Enjoying watching you making trees. It looks so effortless. I'm trying to make it effortless. That's the best bit, and you'll see that from, you know, that tutorial that I keep talking about there. My favourite one so far. That was sort of teasing towards the beginning. But again, just making sure branches are just nice and random. Don't have to touch. Just let them all wisp away. It's looking okay for now. My ears are burning. Who's talking rubbish? They can overlap one another. Again, this script brush with its like really awesome little bits of sort of weight that you can add to it, or lack of even, you know, it really will do the work for you if you want to draw branches. So it's one I really recommend if you want to draw branches in. Okay, cool. A little bit of a forest look going on there now. That's nice. The banking on either side is okay. It's not the best. Could probably do with being a bit higher on this side maybe, and also a little bit more sort of bumpier and lumpier. Don't want it too straight. That's fine. Maybe on this side it just runs out even higher, so it really mounds off onto that side. My ears are burning. Who's talking rubbish about moi? Okay, cool. Let's drop that down a little bit. Just checking my layers from past. I think we're good to start getting into painting in some details. So we'll start to actually bring this to a more pretty standard, should I say. All right, let's get in with some mini grays. Obsessed with this brush still, the one that I used in the cabin tutorial. It's now been edited, the name of it, because it's going to be present in a few different tutorials. So I'm going to drop in some grey in here with the big version of it, let the brush do the work, pick out the lighter version, and just let this brush just layer on top of itself, and it will do all the work for you. You just got to direct it in the direction you want. Again, it will really do all the work for you. It will look great. What's up, Kevin? How are you, my friend? Okay, Joel, you got me with the thumbnail. Oh, cool. I'm glad you liked it. I was just saying, there's like loads of YouTubers that I watch in terms of just like gaming content and stuff, and they're always making like really funny thumbnails, or their editors are anyway. So I thought, well, I could have a go at that, and then maybe like make a different one, maybe once a week. Let's be realistic, it's probably not going to happen once a week, but you know, we can all hope. Okay, so a little bit of groundwork in there now. Again, let the brush do all that work. Keep saying it in a lot of tutorials well, it feels like a lot of tutorials. It's just one big one, the cabin one, and also the one I just recorded. So but definitely with this brush, just let the brush do everything. Just don't do anything. Using a combination of the big and the small version of it, it will really start to flush itself out. It will look great. I am a COD fan, painfully. So I haven't bought Modern Warfare 2. I really wanted to a while back, but because it they've just not get, they've not, some of the maps weren't what I wanted them to be. I wanted, like, you know, Favela, all of the classic ones, if there's any classical ones, you know. Obviously Terminal and Dome and stuff are going to be in Warzone 2, but yeah, it's not what I was hoping for, but it's all good. See what Warzone brings us. Okay, so I'm going to start getting into some greens, but I also need to annihilate all the work I've done by reintroducing the base color. So I'm just going to add some green on the ground here. Milo is in fact the bodyguard. She's one of the moderators. The only other one is Dobby. We haven't seen Dobby for a while. But I know she hurt herself. Well, not hurt herself. Has got a poorly wrist. She has not been in the space for a little while. Why? What are you doing? You need sorting out. Milo, do you have the ability to start banning, not banning people, but tying people out? I imagine you do, don't you? Don't start dishing it out though. Let's break up all of that colour. Reintroduce some shadows in there. That's beautiful. It's much more like leaves. You do. Awesome. Okay, well, feel free to use it. Should anyone say the T word, and explain in the chat why, or I'll do it. It's in explain. Lovely stuff. Let's introduce some of these greens here. I don't know how I managed to get it looking like a certain way over on my prior drawing, so I'm going to try and emulate that a little bit. Bringing in some brighter greens over here. Letting the brush do all that work. As I said, just letting that. Just bring in all the greens. Let it all build up on itself. I'm going to introduce some autumnal colour in here as well. I'm going to add some green, but I'm also going to eventually drop in a little nice splash of oranges and yellows and stuff. This brush is great for building up like vegetation and stuff. Like if you look at that detail, it looks very detailed already. Crashmat says, yeah, I feel what you mean. Thought Modern Warfare 2 is an improvement. I like watching COD League 2. Hopefully going to see one of the tourneys next year. Oh, sick. Who would you be rooting for? Kevin hits him on the head with that wrench and drags them out. Says the T word. To kick people like me out. That day, the T word. It does, doesn't it? It builds up so much texture, and it does, again, I keep saying it, it does the work for you, and it really will do a lot. And it's all about, so this is something, again, I talk about in the new recording, but I want to talk about it now anyway while you're here. Because I set this brush constantly to 75%, every time I get you to go back over and overlap and break up your colour again and start dropping in, you know, going back to the base colour and overlapping, every time you do that, you're dropping in another 75% on top of what you had, but you already dropped 75% on top of that and that before. So every time you do go in and you add another layer of colour and then another layer of shadows and so on, there's so much residue. Like if you look into the actual colour here, there's so much, again, I keep calling it sort of residue. There's loads of different tones in here, and there's some that are maybe like 5 or 10%, like here, right on the end of my pen there. But it's like doing all the work for you. So yeah, it's brilliant, and I mentioned it in the cabin tutorial anyway, and Kevin will know, is that it's, you know, I watched a James Julia tutorial and he used it in one of his, and I was like, oh, that's a sick brush. Let's see what the possibilities are there for myself, and fallen in love with it. Let's break it up, keep overlapping it, especially if you keep the sort of size nice and small. It can be a really fun brush to use. Beautiful. Let's start adding in a little bit of, say, the warmer tones. Let's maybe just drop in a splash of some oranges in here as well. Again, I'm just going to let that brush do all that work. I have the original version, the James version, and the Joel version. I think mine and the James one, truthfully, are very close together anyway. But maybe slight differences, but not fully sure what the specs were in his. I was watching the tutorial, that's what I was doing. So occasionally I'll do like a little bit of research just to see what everyone else is up to, what people doing in the space. Also, I always say this, I don't care how long you've been doing Procreate. If you see a tutorial that you like the look of, etc., it's not a shame, but like, you know, you should go in and take a look at how they did that. You know, respect to the person who made that tutorial for like intriguing you enough to be like, oh, we'll take a look, see how they did that, you know. And like every day's a school day, you can always learn something new from their tutorials, which is great. Start blanketing in a little bit more of that orange. Kieran, this is it's the Leatherwood brush, but with adaptations made by myself for this particular version you're looking at. But you can go to James Julia's tutorial of the sort of autumnal leaves, and you can get a version from there if you'd like. Very similar. So this is coming out nicely because we're leaving in residue of the greens, the greys that we started with, and now moving into some of the lighter tones. Trying to be a bit braver here and there with just the odd little splash of orange that drops in, although it's looking very orange right now. I should probably try and drop in a little bit more sort of red in there, and maybe even some yellows too, just to break that up. Again, keep the brush pressure nice and light. Just let the brush, as you sort of scratch it backwards and forwards, let the brush do all the work about where to put it. If it pops it down, it pops it down. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Just let it be. Let it do what it wants, and it will build up a beautiful, beautiful design. If you were to sit here and try and be like, little dash of green, little dash of orange, little dash of yellow, it's just never going to happen. And that's the beauty with Procreate. You know, in real life, if you were to paint this, of course, you know, full credit to those people and the artists and the painters that will sit and meticulously add in a dash of this and a dash of that. Yeah, fair play to you. But with Procreate, it's made easy, isn't it? And that's the point. That way we can all create something fun. Okay, that's looking nice, and I think I'll just grab some reds as well. Try and be careful with that because the reds are so vibrant. I just want to add in the odd little speckle of it on top. Odd little bit of speckle. But again, we've got the greens coming through and the greys. It's almost got like a bit of a rainbow look to it because we've got the greys are just ever so slightly got a bit of a blue hue to it, and so they're just sat in there still, just in the banking. And again, we just then go back to the base color and just destroy it by going back in, adding in shadows, break all of that color up, create zigzag lines all over the place, just run it over the top, destroy some of it, and give it some more shadow and color. Well, shadow and contrast, sorry, is what I meant to say. I need to actually, wait, what am I doing? This way. Beautiful. We've got some really nice sort of leafy banks there on the side. We'll see what else we can come up with. Crash Matt says, yeah, I was shocked with the cabin tutorial. I was bizzling, doing all the ground areas, and it kept going, and I didn't think much until I zoomed out. Exactly, and this is what I say all the time, is like, I'm just there like that, but when you zoom out, it's done. It's given the impression I wanted it to already give off. So again, zooming out, always key. Don't get lost in the details. You get too wrapped up in little sort of this, that and the other. It's definitely not worth it. Just zoom out, take a look at what you've achieved so far, and see the bigger picture. I guess that's a sort of notion for a lot of things, isn't it? But yeah, take a look back out. Take a look, see what you can see. Just giving these trees a little bit of a light coat because the light source towards the end is going to be in the center. So this is really going to come to life from that middle point. and then the reflections as well. So truthfully, I don't think I'd spend as much time on this in the tutorial in terms of the banking there. I think I would probably tone down the green a little bit as well, probably not so much. Kieran says what brush you're using. I think I've already answered that. And Van Wyck, how you doing? Good to see you. Let's then go in here and again just let the brush do all the work, creating that sort of barky look to the trees. Running that up there, we've got 3 tones in there: the base colour, the mid-tone, the bright tone. Go up and down a few times if we want to. Giving those trees a little bit of texture. Again, I always say this in a minute, but the lighting towards the end is where this will really start to come to life. Right, so for now we will move on and we shall add in the leaves on the top. So there's like a sort of big collection of colours. What I always say is start with your sort of maybe base colour. I could go for the dark tone here, but I'm going to probably go for this one. If not, maybe a slightly darker version. And let the brush get a bit bigger, about 4 or 5%, maybe 5%. And just brush that up and down the trees, going over the branches that you've made. Just letting the brush just randomly spit out the odd sort of shape here and there. Let's keep the height of the trees very sort of the greenery area very close together. Just let that run up and down. Let this just run up and down too. Is this on top of the trees? It is indeed. Perfect. Letting that run up and down, up and down. And I'm not sure I want it to go all the way to the top, but we'll see. Thank you, Milo. It will come through, I hope. I mean, I can already see it. I've already drawn it, but we'll see how it turns out. Now, one thing I do want to do before I carry on is in the gaps between the trees, there's also another set of trees that I want to add in. So again, we go to inking, and the syrup brush. And these are trees that are just not going to do a great deal. They're just going to sort of sit in the forest. So in here, just sort of extra trees in here that are in behind. They're just going to flush it out a little bit more, but they're not sort of front and center. They're just there to flush out the tree line. That's okay for now. We'll add some more over this side too. We don't need to add in like major details off of them either, because all of it's going to be covered up by the greenery. I'll maybe come back and refine them afterwards, but that flushes out the forest a little bit more. And for a second I'll turn them off and I'll come back to them, because now we get into doing the details on the leaves. It is a great brush palette, it really is. It's good fun. Okay, cool. Let's start. I think we start with the reds and we get back. Artistic. And let's start reducing the brush size down to about 2%. And there we go. Every little scratch across our tree leaves here is another petal. You see there, just the sort of effect that this brush does. And you don't complete the whole look. So what I mean is, if I was to start working this area, I need to actually cover the whole of that layer in the same sort of style, and then make my way progressively down, adding in different tones, and then speckles of this beautiful yellowy tone on top. Take a look at the shapes that the brush pasted down for me, and then just adding in little bits of yellow here and there, ignoring all areas. You don't have to add it in every area, because then you just switch it out and then move to like a more yellow tone. rather than an orange that we had prior. Let that just sort of dance around in these areas, see what you can come up with, and then maybe even revert back to, say, the reds to overlap on top. These are very vibrant reds, so yeah, it can all come together. And again, zoom out, and then you can already see the effect come to life, sort of thing. And you know, we can get rid of and refine certain edges and stuff. It's just like a quick idea, but yeah, it's definitely very quick and easy to use. We can always go to the eraser as well and use that brush to erase away. Oh, I'm on the wrong layer, am I? Yes. We can always make the brush size a bit smaller and just sort of chip away at this, refining the shape a bit better. So maybe I'll just do that quickly and just run over the whole. I think they're okay towards the top. It's just like these very light smudgy ones here towards the base. Just need to be a bit sharper in their shapes. Okay, cool. That's fine for now. Let's get into it. Last time when I did this, I just literally blitzed it with like a zigzag, like this, like constantly all the way through the whole thing. So I'll spend a little bit more time in this time. There's quite a big area to do, so maybe we should have or maybe I'll learn from this, and then when it comes to a tutorial potentially on this, break it up, make it less of a big area to cover, because otherwise it's going to take a while to do. You want to avoid sort of repetition areas as well, just let them land on top of those areas that you made before. And again, you don't fill out everything, because eventually you'll bring in more and more tones that are going to fill in the gaps. So if it looks a bit sort of weird and a bit sort of empty in certain areas, it's okay. It can stay like that. I think I am gonna, just for the sake of time, maybe just try and gloss over it a little quicker. Brush would be great for Japanese cherry blossom. That'd be cool. I've wanted to do a sort of Japanese theme tutorial. I did an inking sort of style one prior. It's a bit different though to something that's, yeah, like a cherry blossom, like a detailed one as well. That would be cool. Maybe I should write that down. I am gonna just somewhat try and gloss them all in together a little bit better. So just giving a bit more coverage, a bit quicker. That's okay, but once you've added in the basics, so I'm gonna gloss up and down there too. I want to really sort of fill out the forest quite quickly. So I'm going to do the majority of the spaces I want to cover, such as like here and stuff like that, and making sure we cover up a good chunk of this tree line, covering over the top areas of those darker areas. We'll always go back in it with our shadows afterwards anyway, and try and add in some darker tones, because they always look really good. How's everybody doing? Have you all fallen asleep? Are you all still with me? Perfect, Crash Map. Appreciate that. Appreciate it. Bella, that looks like it should be the backdrop for an animated film. Oh, that'd be cool. So let's just give it some real good coverage. Again, zooming out, making sure we take it all in. Make sure on top of all of these areas here, just try and flush it out. And I think a very good general coat would be nice here. Just trying to avoid horizontal lines a little bit by doing so, but just to flush that out a little bit more. Looking nice so far. Oh, my neck's we're only halfway, folks. We're only halfway, and one colour in as well, so it's a lot to do. It's all part of it. this is where these designs that I've been doing recently are starting to take a little bit longer, is in the fact that there's lots of just intricate layering on top and very gradual build up of coverage, and it's just part of the process, and it's part of these. I was talking a little bit last week about on stream about you know, how it would be great in the space if like longer tutorials were a bit more accepted and a bit more normal, because we can expand our skill set, we can build up new techniques and stuff. I'm all for the quick tutorials, a quick 20-minute one, but I'm also for a good sit down, a good escape, and a good duration of a tutorial, just to advance our skills a little bit more, pushing the boat out, trying to learn something new. I'm hoping that a lot of patrons do attempt the latest tutorial. Like, it may look a little bit daunting, but I hope with my sort of education of it and sort of explaining and tuition, you know, people try and take it on, try and advance their own skills, surprise themselves. That's what I really hope. I really hope people see it and go, yeah, no, actually that was really cool. Like, I managed to do that. I'm just going over now with a good red coat over the top of some of these trees to try and give them a little bit denser coverage. They're all looking a bit too horizontal at the minute, but it will get there. Bella says there's going to be a deer in the middle, Milo, but yeah, you could definitely put a warrior in there for sure. Okay, let's go down a tone. Carry on. Bella says, I like short tutorials, but I will also sit down with longer ones. I think the longest one I followed to date was close to 2 hours. And Kevin says, I'm on my second time through the cabin tutorial. It's probably going to take a few days. Oh, well, that's awesome if you're already on your way through. So have you done it twice and then you're revisiting it, or how's that playing out? Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. Look at these beautiful tones that are just starting to layer on top, and we can flush out these nice tree areas. One colour at a time, baby, one colour at a time. Oh, they just look so pretty. I love forest designs, forest photography, like, it just looks fantastic. You watched it all the way through and now I'm painting along. Gotcha. That is. I didn't realise how many people actually do that. They watch it first and then go ahead and complete it. I find that quite interesting. I wouldn't personally do that, only because I would immediately want to jump into it. But I guess maybe some people, well, you can tell me, do you watch it for a particular reason? Do you watch it just to gauge, you know, okay, no, I think I'll be able to do that and I'll crack on? Or are you just curious for entertainment purposes, just like a sit down and watch? Crashmat says, I can't wait to finish it, Joel. You're fab at teaching, and this tutorial is amazing me in the best way. I watched it once and now on my second draw. Oh, that's awesome. And I really appreciate the lovely comment as well. It's great to get a little bit of feedback here and there, you know, just to make sure you're still doing a good job, but not too much that it goes to your head. Younger Joel, it would have most definitely gone to my head, but now I'm older. There's too much more work to be done to be sitting back and enjoying a compliment. There's way too much. Way too many goals as well. Way too many goals to think, yeah, I can sit on that comment now for a little while. So I'm starting to see this materialize a little bit. I'm trying to plug little gaps and join areas together. That gap at the top there is starting to stress me out a little bit because it's a little bit too bright in behind, so I may just chop the tree line down a little bit and try and refine it a little bit more. Beautiful stuff, it's coming together. We'll chop into this later on as well with some shadowy colours as well. Damn. You've probably aged with all the time, and yeah, for sure. What's up, Jay? How you doing? Oh, Kevin says, lots of times it's easier to follow along if you're already familiar with what's going to happen, for me anyway. No, I totally hear that. That makes sense. It's interesting to always hear other people's sort of how they like to tackle these tutorials. I find it quite interesting. Wow, okay, we're into the third colour. We have still got a number to do, but this is building up nicely. What's up, Bart? How are you doing? Never fear, Holland is here. Sorry I had to. I was feeling nostalgic for a second. God, that's been a while, hasn't it? That was a while ago. Before I came on stream, the camera wasn't working, this one, and so I spent time fixing that, and at one point I was like, oh, this is just not going to work. Should I just go back to old school style with just no camera? I'm good, Jay, thank you for asking. I am shattered, but we're all good. All good. So kind of a little bit more of an update then, and a follow on to Jay's question. If you were here a few weeks ago, you would probably heard me say that I'm feeling burnt out, that I'm feeling a bit creatively empty, up top in my head, and stuff like that. You'll be happy to know at the minute, kind of falling in love with this style as well, and what's possible with it. But in general, I have a lot more creativity again, which is great. I'm feeling a lot less burnt out, and arguably really ramping up now with motivation. We've got Christmas coming up, and Christmas on YouTube for creators is a big time. It's also, I think, the period of the year for me where we get in this space, in the wonderful Procreate space that we're in, a new wave of people that are looking to join the communities, to get involved in this beautiful hobby of ours, and it's the time where I need to be working the hardest, and I'm feeling it in a good way. I'm ready for it. I'm ready to get the work done and be ready for exactly that. Let's have a really good winter. Let's have a really good Christmas in the community, and be ready for everybody who wants to come and join it. So yeah, I'm feeling good. And enjoying the stuff that I've been drawing as well, or painting, should I say. Very much painting, I guess. Also, look at how much this is starting to sort of come together in terms of the density. Every time we're going backwards and forwards, we're overlapping color on top of color, but we're also making connections between certain branches and stuff and certain trees, and really building up a really dense sort of forest look, which is cool. Let's switch the color out again to say yellow this time. This is the most vibrant of the yellows. This is going to really be quite sparing in these areas. But yeah, Procreate as a sort of community really does thrive a lot more in the winter. It tends to really take off a lot more. I can see that in the numbers, and can see it ramping up a little bit and stuff here and there. So it really does take a big swoop upwards. I'm going to go underneath this layer and create another one just for a second, and in certain areas drop in some darkness in behind there. So where it's got a little bit too light, this is where it will start to hopefully plug some of those gaps, but with a darker tone, just to kind of really emphasize the depth, I guess, or what's the word I'm looking for? You know, how, I guess, depth. I'm trying to think of another word that I think suits a bit better, but the density anyway of this space. Let's go back down here, just sort of add in a tiny bit on that side, and also on the right hand side over there. Let's try and block in a bit of colour that just runs off the edge. We want to make it not look like the canvas is the end of the tree, and that's it. That will do for a second. That's come along quite nicely. Where did I get to? Okay, so I was talking about being burnt out and stuff. Jay says, I'm burnt out, but not on drawing. Oh, okay. What's burnt you out? Self-care isn't selfish, exactly, Bart, absolutely. But I took a break, but without you knowing, in certain ways. Like the YouTube tutorials keep coming. I take a live stream off occasionally, but you wouldn't know that I've taken a break, only because I, do it in such a way that the content's already done, but I can maybe take 2 weeks off, kind of thing. That way there's no disruption to the YouTube channel. I will not at all break my consistency on YouTube, not at all. I will keep that going regardless. Now, this is the fun part, we just destroy everything we just did and start going back in with the darker tone and breaking up, adding in nice 1%, very small break up colours, break them up, break up their little random little shapes that I've made accidentally here and there, just to create more of a big blanket of wintry tones. But I was reading the chat, that's what I got to. Crashmat says, that's brilliant, Joel, so pleased that you're feeling better and on form. Thank you very much. And all the people getting iPads for Christmas, exactly. Bart says, I'm burnt out, not with art, but just in general. But I kind of expected that after walking off a spinal injury for 2 years. Damn, that must be like mentally exhausting, but congratulations if you're progressing. Crashman says, me too. Bart says, I love this image, Joel, you're doing. I need a print of it, Mr. Joel. Oh, it's very nice. It's not over yet though. We've still got a long way to go. And you'll see it really take a step. It's the lighting that is key for me every single time, that brings everything together. And you'll see that right towards the end. So I hope you stick around for that. We've got some extra trees in there now that just make it a little bit more dense. That looks beautiful. Very happy with that. I don't care. I still want it on my wall. Kevin says, I'm really liking the depth you're getting at that foliage. That's cool, isn't it? It's just a build up, isn't it? It's just a build up all the time, Kevin, of the different tones, and breaking them down again then with shadows, with the darker original base color will really add in lots. It will make it look like there's lots of leaves. Just again, let's just take a look into a portion of it. Now, I hope the camera's sort of portraying the colors correctly, but if I find what I think is a really good spot, I think there's like over here, tends to look pretty good. We've got lots of just all the build up in the colors. Like if you were to zoom in, you can see different colors overlapping one another. And just in this area alone, you've got like a spill of this sort of area, a lighter bit. In this hip tone here, there's 2 dark tones, and then there's bits of spillage in here, which basically what I'm pointing out is lots of different tones. Like the yellows here, it's not just a block of yellow, it's like a breakup of it. There's lots of different pixel colors in here, and then when you zoom all the way out, you've created a tree. And the beauty with that is, again, the brush 1 did all the work, 2 it just looks so detailed. Even then, if we look into the banking is quite nice and detailed too. Again, the greenery on the banking I think needs to be changed. I think the banking is a little bit too green. So I'm going to just alpha lock the layer for a second and so I don't spill out of it, and just start to annihilate some of that green on that edge, and start to maybe brush in some really nice reds and oranges. I want to just really get rid of a lot of that green. I'm not happy with how that looked. I want to tie the whole design together a bit more by introducing the same tones that are at the top. And if the edge is slightly yellower rather than, see, look, that looks better. You look like you get the leaves immediately from the trees rather than the green grass of more of a spring look to it. You know, it was very, very, very green then. That's better. Again, probably coming off a little bit too bright on that screen. I will chop into it though, get the base colour, break up all of those tones. Try to change the angle of the pen as well, just to make sure we don't draw horizontal lines in there constantly. Breaking that up. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. I am absolutely miles behind. I just tried to literally almost touch the screen there just to scroll back. Sorry, let me catch up. I actually haven't. Brilliant, Joel. Please that you're feeling informed for sure. Spinal injury, saw that. Print it off. Yeah, saw that. Life is crazy right now. I wish it would slow down. I wish I had another day in the week for sure. Milo says this is on another level. This is painting in Procreate. That's what most of us were looking for to step up on our journey. You're gonna love that. I keep talking about this mysterious tutorial that I'm not sure where it's gonna go yet, but when you see it, you'll know what I mean. It's beautiful. It's very, very beautiful. You're gonna love it. Life is burning me out. Funky's back, and Funky says, "Oh my God, Joel, you as Bob Ross has me lolling hard." Do you like the thumbnail? It's cool, isn't it? Drawing is keeping me from screaming. Irene says, "This is absolutely stunning," and I say this every time you create or post something, but this might just be my favorite. You wait till you see that other tutorial, but this will be one already. I already have a mock-up of it ready to go. It's just, again, it's probably a long one, but if I'm chatting and with, you know, little delays here and there in this, I think this can fly, because it's going to take a turn shortly for the better in terms of the design and where it looks like and comes out in the end. So we'll see how it goes. But I appreciate you, Irene. I really do appreciate the love. Even if you feel you say it all the time, I really appreciate it. But it's not going to lie, I like it better with less trees, because it looks like the water behind it, and it's pretty. The water is here. This is the canvas. This is the whole page. This is the water here. This is the master plan, sir. But yes, it could actually look like there's water in behind there, couldn't it? It's just trying to give the impression that there's something back there, in terms of like a forest and stuff. So maybe I just need to emphasize those lines a bit more. Maybe. Let me catch up with what you're all up to. Happy trees for sure. Jay says, "I love the thumbnail too, Joe." I appreciate it. Bella says, "I almost expect to see little flickering lights between the trees." Oh, that's a cool idea. They're sort of like tiny fairies flying around. We're going to have a sunlight just in the background. Again, it'll all sort of come together for you shortly. Okay. I think we might be there. Oh, hang on. It's the trees. I'm tempted to duplicate the trees just because, and keep a copy, because I'm sure that I might come back to them. I'm going to alpha lock them for a sec, and I'm going to try and really darken them up just a little bit more. Just darkening them up, breaking down that colour a bit. I don't want it to become too dark, but based on what the lighting's going to do, nah, see, that doesn't look as nice, does it? Maybe we just give it a very light coat. Do it at angles as well, just to break up the line work and see if it's coming through. Okay, I'm going to carry on with the design. We may revisit the trees just to see how it looks later on. Okay, we need our what do we need? What do we need? What do we need? Let me check my layers. What I did before. What did I do with trees? Oh yeah, that's in the water. That's fine. Tree line, background. Background was a little bit more dense than this one. Okay, we'll see how that maybe plans out. Okay, one above. One above and one below. Yeah. Okay, so yes, right at the top. We're going to go ahead first of all and group all this together, save me doing it later on. Group that together. We're going to go to this tone here. We're going to go to our beautiful little soft airbrush. We're going to change this to overlay, I believe. And we're going to go ahead and really brighten up the center area of our design. Give it a really nice warm look. We're then going to add in our subject, which is going to be in this color here. And we're going to use a deer. It could be an angel, it could be anything. But for this one, I'm going to use the deers because I've got them on hand. Rotate it just a smidge, just like this. Create another new layer. We'll change it to, yes, that is correct. Ooh la la, ooh la la. Yes, that's fine, but I need to be careful with the color and not to maybe overdo it. The one I did before looked better, but I think because the background looked better. So I'm just going to try one thing quickly. I'm going to duplicate my leaves that I really like the look of, put them as the background instead, flip that vertically and move that, no, flip it vertically. Let's go freeform. Gauge and blur that instead. What did I do before then? That was looked quite nice. We'll roll with that for a second. We'll roll with that for a second. I'm pretty confident I did something different. What was it? Oh, I think I introduced shadows straight afterwards. And also the forest wasn't as dense. So maybe the forest needs to have like the up here clipping mask, and we go to say overlay. Maybe we actually introduce underneath some of these tree lines just little brighter tones. Just underneath that, sort of staring. Maybe. That looks a bit too overdone. I'll turn that off. Oh, was it a bit darker to the edges? So what I'm trying to do is, you're probably watching me, is I'm going backwards and forwards between looking at the mock-up and the one I've just done, just to try and see where I've gone differently with my layers. But we'll see where it goes, because I wanted a really nice bright sunlight. Just duplicate that, flatten it, move it above our water, clipping mask it, just flip it. Let's move it down. Yeah, that's fine for a second. That's fine for a minute. We had a new layer on top of that. Let's get this green in here. I think I just saw someone laughing in the chat, so I need to go back and see what the hell you're going on about. I'll leave that there for just 2 seconds while I just look at the chat. Oh, you didn't like the extra trees in the gaps? I see what you mean, I see what you mean. Thank you for the dongle link, Joel. That plugs into your iPad, right? Absolutely. You plug it into the USB-C. You do need to plug then your charger into it, like I mentioned in the video. But it is really useful, and you can use it for all sorts of stuff. You know, you don't have to use it in Procreate. There's loads of apps as well that take advantage of external display support. So there's loads of apps out there that will help you with that. Just remembered you with the bloom effect last week. I watched it and catch up still makes me chuckle. It drove me mad. I couldn't believe it. I still need to chop that up. What's Funky laughing at? What are you laughing at, Funky? You're laughing about the bloom? Sarah says, wow, this is looking stunning. I missed the beginning. Can't wait to go back and rewatch. We're nearly there. We're nearly getting through it. There's lots of little extra effects now we can add on top of this. So the water's got like a little bit of colour on it. We can blur it out. What have I done wrong? Oh, wrong one. Let's get motion blur. Just chuck that a little bit of a horizontal blur there. Making sure that is nice and horizontal. It's looking nice. I think I added some additional layer effects. I think I did. We'll add them on as well. Okay. Let's go to soft brush. Is that right? And then there was another layer set to add, which will just give us that beautiful bright look potentially through the forest in the middle, but maybe we erase that just a little bit because I want to adjust the banking. I do get sort of very bored of seeing like here where it's a straight line, so I think what we could do is actually erase from this shape. Maybe I'll mask it just in case we make a change. So syrup maybe, and then just across here just try and introduce a less, there we go, a less straight shape, not too much though, because like there I've not actually meant to color that in, so that can just come around to there a little bit more, so a little bit more rounded, less I just realised I've absolutely annihilated the shadow. Oh, I added in the deer later on, that's why. That can go up here. Flip vertically, move that down. Motion blur, move that. But that looks a little bit too red. Looks a little bit too red. Maybe it needs to be darker. That is the ticket. That's a bit better. And then there's still more details we can add in this top area. There's loads more stuff we're going to add in here. We're going to grab our soft brush and start adding in some shadows to help emphasize our light source. Shadows and contrast to really make everything come to life. See how that left side looks so much better than the right side because we've got that little shadow in there. I'm going to redo it once again though. I want to really emphasize that shape a bit more. Just darken that up on the water's edge. Oh, beautiful bit of contrast there, beautiful. And also just darken up the banks a little bit more in their darkest areas. That looks nice. Nice. Let's then also introduce in the water this colour here. Let's make the brush eyes a bit small and put some streaks in the water, even in your shadowed areas, just to give that impression that it is water. So these streaks here, at the minute, are just just the brush, but we'll motion blur them in a second, which will just nicely sort of make them fit the style a bit more. Then we go up to here, motion blur, push that horizontally, and that will break those lines up a little bit more. I'm convinced that they were set to a layer effect, and it's telling me it's not, but that sounds like horse. So I'm gonna, yeah, it's got to be add. No? Why you lie? I mean, overlay looks brilliant. Overlay keeps a lot of the colour in there. I really like how that looks. Yo, I need to actually look at you guys. Thank you, Joe. Dongles are a little bit more expensive in the USA. Alright. Wonder why that is. Oh, I missed a few minutes and I've come back to this masterpiece. I appreciate it, Bella. Charlie. Out, 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 out. Good boy. That would be a stunning poster. It would be quite nice, wouldn't it? There's lots more we can still do. Oh, okay, you're back again. Are you gonna lay down? Good boy. We'll also add in some leaves on top of the water as well down here. So we'll go in with, say, this colour here, and then down here, although this is the reflection of the leaves above, I'm going to add some leaves to make it look like they're sat on the water just down here. So maybe like the wind's blown them down this end of the pond or whatever it is we're looking at here. So just letting this brush just determine where we're going to have some patches of leaves. The odd little speck above is fine. That looks fine. We'll then go in and start adding on some more colour on top of these. Build up, build up, build up. I feel like I'm trying to catch up and then I just turn away every time. Sarah, Procreate always lies to me too. Who am I talking to? I think I was reading something that was like way further up in the chat. Have we been on before, Kiki? Jesus. I joke. Okay, so then we're just gonna try and just draw in some leaves here of sort that just, again, let the brush do all the work. Splashing on some red on top of these little patches. Yeah, that's fine. Still on the right path. Can you guys hear the music okay as well? Because that was also something that was broken last week, but it's now fixed. Should be fixed. Let's go in then with a different tone, make the brush eyes a lot smaller now and try and this will look better in a second because we'll add a shadow underneath it, which will really help it stand on top of the water. And trying to break up some of the horizontal sort of shapes that I've managed to make here. can hear is Mr. Charlie just sniffing around behind me and extremely distracting. Let's try and Funky, this brush